Wagwan, are you there? What's good? And you know who this is, baby. The number one podcast in America, dedicated to all you kings and queens of color, homies and homettes, shotters, woo gals, G-boys, and charges. The one and only Jerk Jollof and Collard Greens podcast.
What's good, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the JJC Podcast. Today, we will be discussing the new age way of child rearing and upbringing. We will cover how they are more effective ways of teaching a child how to handle their emotions while learning boundaries and discipline. Ass whoopings will no longer be the go-to method of child rearing and will soon be replaced by conscious reinforcement of positive behavior, redirecting, and emotional cognition. So sit back, take notes, suck your teeth, and say, damn, I wish these existed when I grew up. Anyway, social media plug. If you aren't already a follower or perhaps tuning in for the first time and would like to learn more about the show, then definitely check us out on Instagram, at Facebook, at Jerk Jollof Collar Pod. Additional ways to reach us will be provided in the outro and the end of the episode. So, I know I've been missing for a bit. I miss seeing Dre's lovely face. I miss Francis being inconsistent. Missing the other group, D Black, and what's the other guy's name? Selassie, that's right. Just play it. Well, thanks for being on here for this episode, gentlemen. How y'all doing?
Good, man. Hanging in there.
I definitely did not miss the slander. What's
Yeah,
up,
I was gonna say, Francis has been consistent for at least. Yeah, it has been at least. He hasn't been inconsistent since the second season, man. He changed, man. He started being a little bit more particular, man. Gotta give him credit.
I don't know what I do to gain the slander, but it's all good though. I miss you too. Chunky.
Thank you.
Miss you too.
My love language is physical touch. I'm not allowed to put my hands on you, so I'm just going to say some mean things.
It's all good. What's popping though? I miss y'all, man. What's going on?
Same old same, man. Another day, another dollar.
That's right. Yeah, I'm. I was looking at the weather in Minnesota. It's like we're gonna be in the 90s. Like
in the 90s?
90s, high 90s too, all week. And I was like, yo, I'm not ready for that. I need to like walking around half naked or something. I don't know, but something gotta change.
You about to be in the hoochie daddy shorts is what you telling us?
I got it on right now. What you mean?
I was gonna say, do you guys deal with such like extreme cold that like 90 degrees you guys can't handle it because it's just too hot? Because I know it gets very cold there. Like
it does,
cold.
Yeah, it is very cold. But I mean, I think we are used to like the nice mid 80s, weather. But when it get up to like high 90s or in the 3 digits, it gets real nasty. And the humid here is so bad, so it's not like the LA or the Arizona weather where it's dry. But it is what it is, though. But I do love my Uchi shorts, though. Don't come at me, man.
Not hoochie, but Uchi.
Uchi. Yeah, that's my H's right there.
I know. I love it. All right. So, once again, talking about child rearing. So, was there anything you did as a kid that would keep you from getting in trouble, no matter how severe the punishment was?
I'll go first. I know I said this on the previous one, but I tried to be a goody two shoes, man. I was not trying to get into any type of trouble at all. So I kind of moved in a way to. I just assumed that at any given moment, my parent would pop out of wherever I was at. So if I was on the street, if I was doing something I wasn't supposed to, I just always had a healthy fear that my dad would just pop up out of anywhere. So I would say that I was always kind of had a healthy fear of my father growing up. So I was always trying to make sure I was doing anything possible to not get into any trouble. I think I was pretty firm on that.
I call cap on that, Dre. It's all good though.
Look, man.
Capping, man. Why you stay capping?
We can get my dad on the
man.
podcast. He will tell you.
Oh, let's do it.
Goody two shoes.
Let's do it.
Call him up right now. Call him up right now.
Nothing to hide.
We got a part 2 to this with Dre's daddy.
I just want my apology when you hear it for yourself. That's all. That's all I want.
We got to make this a part 2. Frank?
That's fair. No, I think it's just you know, I was trying to think about it. You know, growing up it's a little bit of a blur, but I know I always get caught up in lies though. I know we had an episode on lying. Yeah, but you know, because my parents were strict, so I always gotta like get my ass kicked. So so he always, you know, come up with excuses, and I think that's really how I came up with, you know, there's a notion with me where if something happens, I gotta give a reason for it. And I think that's I'm pretty sure that's where that came from. Always have to defend myself, you know, give a reason to something, explain, trying to get myself out of it, you know. So yeah, always getting caught up in lies sometimes. So it leads to more ass whooping. That's what happens.
Fighting.
Of course.
Contrary to belief, I fought a lot as a kid. Yeah, just didn't care. Just had to prove a point, right? So I remember fighting in kindergarten. I remember fighting in 1st through 3rd grade. I think it stopped like senior year of high school, but that was just a thing. You had to throw hands, had to prove yourself. So I knew I was going to get an ass whooping when I got home. It didn't matter. I just had to throw down with the throwdown, man. But before we get any further,
I got a question on that though. So what was your craziest fight? Have you ever gotten whooped? Have you lost?
Oh yeah.
So what's your record? What's your record?
I don't know. I probably lost like 3 or 4 fights. Out
of what?
whatever kindergarten to senior year is, like 3 or 4 of them.
No,
like, that's when I started learning how to fight, because it's just like I had a bully, and I never forget it. His name was Ishmael, right? And it's weird, the stuff that we remember, like he whooped my ass. And my brother had to step in and help me. And after that, it was just like, you know, I gotta learn how to defend my own self, right? Never lost after that. And you know, just had to win a fight by any means.
Hey, shout out to the big bro. No, I was trying to think like, man, I think I got into one fight. I got into actual one fight in like growing up in school. And I remember I had to actually run after the fight so I could catch the bus. Oh my God. I remember this like yesterday. It was so crazy. And I don't remember what it was over. It was like probably something dumb, but I remember it was cookies. Yeah. I mean, of course, you know, kids just fight over the dumbest things, you know, but you know, that's what men do. We just like to like fight sometimes.
I mean, do you think it's like a true male quality, or is this like different sections of men? Because I know some men that are more intelligent, like they rather like talk about it and be diplomatic before
my cousin,
even like. No, your cousin fights too.
Yeah, growing up.
Yeah, nowadays so he's more diplomatic and more tactful.
Hey,
so
shout out to Big
D Black.
Black.
Glenn's more so of a diplomatic and tactful person before he like responds to like physical violence. Trey, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, I do think though, I understand what you're saying, but I would say that I would assume the overwhelming majority of men just know if you say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing, there's a potential that another man's gonna put hands on you. Whether they want to fight or not is, you know, different. Okay. But I think men kind of have a very basic understanding of like, if I say something I'm not supposed to say, or if I do something I'm not supposed to do, this other man can respond with violence to me. Like, I feel like it's just like embedded in us personally. Like, I just feel like this is just like you know, maybe this is like me being sexist or whatever, but I feel like women aren't very quick to like physically fight, but I feel like it's just like a very common thing of like, where men, like, you say something you're not supposed to say, like, it's always, I'm gonna fuck you up, right? Like, it always gets there, right? Like, it always is like, I'll knock you out, or, like, I'm gonna smack the shit out of you. You know what I mean? There's always that type of thing. So I feel like that is like, I think it is like in our, like, kind of like
DNA.
Is the
like,
survivor of the
hormone of
fittest.
Testosterone?
Yeah, I think it's all that. If you look at, like, not to compare us to animals, but right, like, you see, male animals, will often kind of fight, like male lions, for example, right? It's one male lion to a pride full of women, lionesses, or whatever we want to call them, right? And basically, there's a time where a young man comes over and tries to take over, right? They fight to the death. Either the old man wins and the young lion dies, or the old lion dies and the young guy takes over. So I do feel like there is a little bit of that. I'm not, just to put that disclaimer out, because I feel like I gotta still be the dad of the podcast. That we don't condone violence of any condone violence of any sort. But I do feel like there is just like I think there is like an unwritten rule between men of, like, I know that there's a possibility that might be, either saying something or doing something that a physical confrontation could happen.
Yeah.
And the ones who don't, you could tell that they've probably never been in a confrontation, right? The ones who kind of talk crazy and, why did he hit me? It's like, well, did you know, what did you say to him?
I think like some people just do that shit. Just like, oh, I don't know why he hit me. Because it's just playing dumb. Like, some people know
you didn't follow the rules. Like, you said something that you shouldn't have said. Like that, I don't agree with it, but like, right. That's just like the unwritten rule of kind of like, the old back in the day, right? With the gun duels dueling? And like, slapping each other in the face, like that. That was a thing. That was a real thing. People used to really, like, I have a problem with you. We gonna meet in the town square. We're gonna walk 10 spaces. We're gonna turn around, and the first person to, or we're just gonna be looking at the first person to draw and pull out the gun, like, and shoot. It's like, that's how it works, So I do think there is something that, I'm not saying it's right. I mean, I believe we've evolved from that, thankfully. Like, thankfully, there isn't just like random men challenging you to a duel, like, in the street. Like, imagine you take someone's parking spot, and then as soon as you get out, he's like, I challenge you to a duel, and you can't come home to your family because you lost the duel to some man because you took a parking spot or whatever, right?
I'm not gonna lie.
Listen, before we blow past this, quick history note, right? So Alexander Hamilton, and it was Aaron Burr. If you've seen Hamilton, you know about this. The duel took place in Weehawken, New Jersey, the morning of July 11, 1804. So dueling has always been a thing. I think it was outlawed at a certain point after this.
Yeah.
But
as it should be.
Well,
I just gotta say, I'm a huge fan of the wolf pack. I watch a lot of like vampire and wolf TV shows, and that, for you to be the alpha of the pack, whoever the pack leader is challenged by the new potential leader, and for you to be considered that, you need to beat the current leader. So like, for me, I just think being, man, we actually got the sense to protect our what's the word I'm looking for? Just our surrounding, So
it's love about, like,
it's just like and we have this fight is the, like, the survivor of the fittest. We have to always kind of fight to the just kind of protect our surrounding. There's a word I'm actually looking for. I can't really grab it, but anyways, that's kind of like just kind of what I was just thinking, because
not possessions, right?
The dual mentality is something that, what if we look in movies or TV shows, it is still a thing that's being portrayed, and I think, actually, for me, I think it's a healthy way to resolve problem or to resolve conflict.
To duel?
Instead of like, because we want to show, we want to like, I'm superior than you. It's like we have just ego to us, and I think, with the way like violence and gun violence has increased in our society, if we actually have that kind of system where men, if they have an issue with you, they can actually just duel it out in a well-friendly way. Like, remember back in high school or even middle school, we used to box, like, in a way. I know I did it, and we used to record it on our phones.
You were boxing just for fun, not to
for
harm
fun,
the other person.
But well, if you get knocked out, you get knocked out. but it's just the notion of just like, figuring it out in a more healthy way versus, and I'm an advocate for that, actually. So let's bring it back. Man.
The problem is somebody taking the loss. That's the problem, right? Probably the Chunky, you're muted, or your audio's out. But while we're waiting for him to get his audio back, yeah, I think I agree with you, Francis. But I don't know if people can take the loss. Sometimes the loss, they want their get back. Some people may not be able to just take the loss and kind of move on. They may be extra.
But if the system is in place, and I guess it has to be like a rule, like, if it's like one of those unspoken rules, if that is the system that is in place, you just kind of look for your like your payback, your round two. How you get round one, round two, round threes.
So
I'll be an investor. I'll be an investor in your.
So my question is,
with people dueling,
yeah,
like literally 10 paces, turn around.
You're okay with that?
No, he's talking about fighting.
I said fighting, not dueling, not.
I was all confused.
No.
Actual boxing, fighting, and to resolve issues. So
it's like a mobile octagon.
Healthier approach, man. Exactly. You can think about it like
or
that.
just like Francis's. We'll come up with a cool name for your new bowling alley type of thing. Right. We'll take over an old bowling alley. There'll just be a bunch of octagons in there, and you just sign the paper. Me and Francis gonna shoot this fair one.
Yo,
at
better than an Uber. It's a new app, mobile octagon.
Yo,
just call it.
Yo,
I
love it.
Just like, boom.
Actually, that's crazy. You got there's
Can
a lot of underground fighters fighting that happens in the community where it's like no rules, whatever. And the idea that you have is actually more. I think there's some more logic to it. Actually, is really intelligent. I actually fuck with it. So
can we like trademark this before someone's still?
Actually, I was just thinking the same thing.
I'm gonna add a disclaimer over the audio. All ideas presented in this podcast are ownership of the JJC podcast. But does this mean that it's just our three ideas, and we only got to bust it down three ways? And
that's it. They're not here. They don't
Glenn
get
and D Black, they don't get any parts of this.
No show, no love, bro.
This is ours.
Oh boy.
Oh man. So hey.
Good start. I like it.
It is. So before I forget, we're gonna do this rep yours. So if you know any men that could benefit from attending Mindset, Health, and Wealth one-day men's wellness event, there will be a guest speaker touching on mindset, health, and wealth. There's going to be self-care services such as mini facials and a chair massage, and also more. So we'll have a link for you to click on our Instagram. It's just going to be a me day. So the date and time is going to be Sunday, August 14th, 2022, from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The location is going to be 4 Lackawanna Plaza, Montclair, New Jersey, 07042. For more information, go to www.eventbrite.com/e/mindset, tech health, tech wealth, tech one, tech day, tech men's wellness event tickets 37522 275-034. I know I just said a lot. We're going to drop a link for you to click on. No need to remember it. I just like to say things and spell stuff and say numbers. So I know we kind of strayed away from the beginning right there when it came down to rearing your children. But as us men being reared growing up, question. how would you punish your kid? If your kid acts up, you're in the mall, kid's just like, fuck you, daddy, and just like, ah, and just lays out in the middle of the floor. And he's just like, hey, get up, fuck you, daddy. Ah!
I mean, I'm not a, I'm a new dad. So, and this is something that actually it was funny before I knew this was the topic we were having this weekend. My wife and I actually started talking about this, and because I was, growing up, man, I got my ass kicked. I kind of talked about it before. I was my dad was the discipline. He did all the ass whooping, and my mom actually was very disciplined too. She like was tough with the punishments. There was a bunch of things that we had to do, like, we call one of the ones that we do, or we call it is I'm trying to think of the name, is pick pin. It's like when you like kneel, like just act like you're trying to bend over, but you put one of your finger on the ground and you have to raise one of your foot up in the sky in the air, and you can't move. And you're supposed to stand there for like as long as they really want you to stand there. The goal of that is for you to feel the discomfort, the pain, your body aching, and you want to like quit. And if you move, they might like hit you with a belt. Like it's like crazy punishment for acting up. So I was raised with that kind of fear from my parents. And for me, like being a new dad, I was thinking about that, like, okay, how am I gonna raise my son? Like, when they start acting up. And my initial notion is, I turn out okay. I'm definitely gonna whoop them, to be honest, but then my wife was laughing at me when I said that. She was like, you can barely watch him cry now. Like, you think you'll be able to actually whoop him? I was like, babe, I don't know. Like, I think so. So I think that's something that I'm still in the process of really discovering, to be honest. I think there's gonna be a true balance between being like an educator, like a teacher type, kind of really talk through what just happened and really talk through, okay, this is the decision you made, or this is what you just did. What is the alternative, options? And we kind of talk through it and really just kind of go from there. I think it's gonna be a really a trial, like a trial and error type of vibe, because I honestly don't know the answer. I don't think there's really one true answer to it, because the way you raise one kid doesn't automatically means it's gonna work for the next kid. So I don't know. I'm excited to see what the rest of the guys have to say about this, but I don't have one true answer to that question.
I think for me, I think there's been a number of kind of studies and things that have come out kind of as of late to kind of explain that, like, at least from like I know culturally there's probably some differences. Francis, I'm sure, kind of those are punishments that maybe your parents had and their grandparents and all that, right? Like that's kind of I would assume some of those. But from like a typical Black African American kind of standpoint, there is some people who've kind of spoken about how there is like a correlation to how we spank our children versus how like slave masters used to beat slaves, and there is some of that. So for me, I think the biggest thing is to try to articulate without my hands to my son what is appropriate and what's not. From what I understand, kids are going to have, these type of meltdowns, right? And it's kind of your job as a parent to teach them how to kind of work through, those meltdowns, and teach them through like, why are you upset right now? Or what's going on, and trying to teach things. I don't know if necessarily putting hands on someone, especially who's in an irrational state, is going to kind of do anything other than make them cry more or whatever. So, I mean, I've seen a lot of examples. Like I saw this one video, there's this Black father, his daughter was acting up in Walmart. So what he did, he left his cart in Walmart, he took her outside, he sat her on the hood, and he's like, until you know how to behave, we're not going to go back into the store, right? So she's crying, and he's basically talking to her. He's like, I understand you're upset for this reason, but this isn't an appropriate way to act. And until so he was able to calm her down. They went back into the store and she was fine, right? So I personally think that would be my approach as much as possible. Keep my hands in my pocket, so to speak, and kind of make it very clear. This isn't an appropriate behavior, and kind of go through kind of all of those steps. I would assume that probably in today's world, as the kids get older, I would assume you have a lot of power to be able to take things away. From what I understand, the phone is a very powerful tool to some of these children, right? Their phone is kind of like another connection to them. I would assume that maybe you can find out what is that thing with the children. My parents had it easy on me. If my parents told me that they was disappointed in me, I would be very upset. I was a punk. I'll just make it very clear. I think that probably affected everyone, but that really was like my button, right? If they told me they were disappointed in me in something, that really kind of hurt me. So I think it's really just a matter of kind of trying to teach them how to work through, right? If they're going through some type of temper tantrum, I can't say that word right now, and then kind of working through that. I feel like it's like our responsibility as parents to try to teach them how to work through those type of things, right? Because when they're adults, they're not going to have me there, right? Imagine like a 21-year-old mentally having a break, going through a tantrum in essence in an office, right? Because their parent never taught them how to like deal with someone who has an issue with them or whatever, right? So my biggest thing, I guess to make a long story less long, is basically try to talk to them. If that doesn't work, there has to be some type of punishments in place, whether it's a timeout, whether it's taking things away, whether, like I feel like we have so many tools before we even get to that, physical piece. And that would be my order of operations.
Yeah, of course, I'm gonna say I think the physical piece is necessary, but it comes at appropriate time, right? So hear me out.
Yeah, I'm interested in Chunky's viewpoint on this.
So I have a daughter, so it's a little bit different. So I'm not going to put my hands on her because I don't think any man should hit a woman, period. So that's going to be the challenge for me. It's just like, how do I reprimand you and get you to understand discipline, right? So you can teach someone how to manage their emotions, but it's different to teach them discipline and how to control their emotions. Okay, I'm mad because of X, Y, and Z. All right, you did a good job. But if someone else starts affecting them, are they disciplined enough to say, you know what? Fuck it. They're messing with me. I know what it is, and I can walk through it. Or they get a job, and the boss is just like, you're doing this because I told you to do it. Period. You signed this contract. It states that you do what I tell you to do within reason. I don't want to hear your feedback. Just deal with it. Well, I feel this way. I don't care. Just do it. Right? So are they able to manage their emotions in the sense that I can't explain this to this person? I just have to do it and then loop back and explain it later. Or dealing with law enforcement. Hey, put your hands on the wheel, do X, Y, and Z, put your hands behind your back. I didn't do anything wrong. I don't give a fuck. You're doing what I'm telling you to do. So to me, it's just like, it's not for the simple fact that this behavior equals pain, but it's a mechanism of discipline. So think about the toughest thing you've been through in your life and think about everything else you handle underneath that. So you have to hit the extremity first to handle everything that's lesser. I'm not saying off the rip, child passes out in Walmart like, oh, fuck you, daddy, and you just beat them. But what I am saying is that there's a level of control, authority, and discipline that needs to be implemented. And the way that it's implemented is an interesting dynamic. That the result of your action, I can act up. The worst thing my parents are going to do is take my phone away. I'm going to do some risk analysis here, right?
I was using the phone as an example,
but that is no, bro.
But I think it's fine. I think it's finding what is the thing that's going to, maybe it's not the phone maybe it's not going to be the phone for my kid. Maybe he's going to be like, I don't care. You take away my phone, right? There's going to be something, right? There's going to be some, like I remember when I was, I was playing freshman basketball, right? I was fucking up in one of my classes and my dad was like, look, if you don't get your grades up, you're going to be off the team, right? That was all the motivation I needed, right? To get me to do what I needed to do, right? So I think that's, that's the phone equivalent, right, to me, because at that moment, right, my life would have been quote unquote over if I had to, if my dad took me off the team, right? Like it would have been over. I would have been so upset if I didn't get a chance to play basketball, right? Because I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do. Now, he probably could have put his hands on me and made that point clear, right? Mm-hmm. but to me, that was all I needed to, you know, to get my grades up and do what I needed to do. Because otherwise, you know, he would have taken me off the team. Maybe he also, you know, would have put hands on me too.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think, you know, I think with everyone, I'm sure there's multiple ways to kind of get the same point across. And again, I just use the phone as an example. But yeah, that may not, you know, definitely to his point, that may not be the thing that's going to work for.
For that kid. Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, I think,
you know?
I think that's kind of why I was like struggling with that question. I know for sure I'm not gonna punish my kid to the level my parents punished me, because I think like the way, because even like growing up in Nigeria, right? Like I wasn't, I could be punished by my teachers. And like the ideology of being raised by the village is actually something that I actually grew up on, you know, that my neighbors, if they saw me doing something, they could yell at me, they could actually punish me or give me a slap across the face if needed. You know, my cousins, my aunties, my uncles, stuff like that. So everybody within my surrounding had the authority, they had the right and the power. My parents empowered them to make the correction as needed to ensure that I'm doing the right things. So they're like the extension of my dad and my mom away from my parents, right? So for me, I think it's really finding the sweet spot. And I think that's where the challenge is for every child, because like you said, a phone might work, taking somebody's keys away, like to a car, or not letting them play sport or something could be efficient, you know, for a kid, where it's not as efficient for another kid. I guess my question to you, Dre, actually, is: do you think punishment work?
Yes.
I mean, that's a good question. That's a very good question.
Do you think punishment work? Yeah, because if then I'll let you answer that.
I think it could. I think it could work in some. I don't think it's going to work in every instance, right? I just don't. I don't believe in the like one size approach all to every scenario. So again, I think it's one of those things as well, where like some people may make like a thing bigger than what it is, right? Like I think it's all about like trying to look at the specific situation and trying your best as a parent to give the proper correction for that one specific thing, and not thinking of it being like a bigger thing, right? Like, okay, they did this. This is the decision we're making to try to correct this behavior from repeating itself again, right? And just staying within that mindset personally. But what do you think, Chunky?
Consistency, right? So I completely agree. Like not every time you have to use the same punishment, because you kind of get used to it, right? So like I said, and if I miss anything, just correct me. Going back to that risk analysis. All right, if I do this, this is the result. Okay. I look at the table of like, this is the punishment table. If I backtalk you, my phone's gone for 24 hours. If I tell you to kick rocks, you know, I'll get a slap on the wrist. If I steal something, then you take away my internet for 4 hours, right? So I'm going to start weighing it out in the sense that, okay, I know what I can get away with. But if I'm consistent, where it's just like, hey, it's a buildup. Hey, you're going to do this. It's no longer 4 hours. It's 8 hours. It's an entire week. So the punishment stays the same, but I'm going to lengthen it. So like now you're serving more time, quote unquote. Oh, now we're going to add a chore that you hate on top of that. So is it really worth it for you? So I'm just going to keep building and building and building until you get the message where it's just like, this is unacceptable. I may not have to put hands on you, but you're increasing your punishment time 10 or 20 fold. Is that really worth it to you? And then in essence, that teaches them, okay, cool. In reality, hey, we all know we've had some late nights doing some stupid shit. Is it really worth being out this late being stupid? No. So I'm not able to balance where it's just like, I'm going to do the appropriate things. Even when I become an adult, it's just like, am I really going to party on a Wednesday night? I'm going to have to go to work tomorrow at 8 a.m. No, I'm going to come home early. Oh, okay, I'm going to take that risk depending on how I feel, right? So to me, I think punishment is necessary. Discipline is necessary in order to create a contributing person in society.
I agree. That approach makes sense. What I was saying while you were kind of getting back on is, one of the, to my point of like trying to make it specific to the thing, I was in ninth grade, freshman basketball team. I was doing what I was supposed to do in one of my science classes because I hate science, right? I was getting a grade that my father did not think was good enough. And he made it clear. He's like, look, if you keep on fucking up, I'm gonna pull you off the team. That was all I needed. That was the punishment. That would have been the punishment for me if I continued to not do what I was supposed to do in class. He was gonna remove me from the team, and that was all that I needed, right? Because at that time, as I told Francis, my life would have been over, right? If I had to get off the team, right? Because basketball was so important to me at that moment in my life, right? So like, I don't think if my dad putting hands on me at that moment would have like done anything other than like me being, crying for that moment. But him telling me that he would have removed me from the team would have been all that I needed to like, for me to get on track, right?
I think
I just think it's specific. I think it's specific to the thing. Yeah. And I agree with your that thing that you talked about with adding on to it. That was actually one of the tips that I heard from one of the parents. Like, oh, if the kid's job is to do this one chore and they're not doing it, to your point, okay, you have to do this chore, and now you also have to do this other one as a result of you not doing this, right? So when you keep on doing this, to your point, it's going to keep on stacking up. So I thought that was something that I also heard from one of the experts. So I just used the phone as an example, but I agree. It should be very specific to.
You get with the phone because phone is life now, right? If I can't connect on social media, I'm a nobody.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you. You gonna have a flip phone. You ain't gonna be able to do nothing.
You know what?
Right?
You know what?
That's a little scarier.
Snapchat,
scary.
Bro. Snapchat.
Nah.
Kids nowadays just have them delete Snapchat off their phone. And I even I feel like they can't even live without that.
But this other stuff,
Snapchat all the time.
There's gonna be other stuff that we're not gonna know about.
Of course. I know. I'm just teasing, but
I would not give him a flip phone because I cannot track him.
You know what? To be honest, though, I think this whole thing, one thing, I think all punishment without corrective action, though, is useless. So that's kind of why one of the reason I think there has to be that conversation about, because every action has a consequence, and the older you get, the consequences get bigger. So as parents, really our job is to, as parents, really one of our main job is to keep our kids alive, teach them, the day-to-day, just make sure they get food on the table and just raise them to be good moral agent in the society.
So I'm gonna throw a wrench in that, right?
Yeah.
So y'all kids are still young. Wait until they start talking back. That's the shit that becomes frustrating.
Yeah.
And my daughter is not even 5 yet. And I'm like, hey, go do this. No. I'm like, I'm not asking you. I'm telling you. And she was just standing there.
Yeah.
I gotta go over. I gotta grab her. I gotta bring her over. And it was like something like she had a cup, right? She's done with her water or whatever. I'm like, hey, just put the cup in the sink. That's it. It's like, no. I'm like, just put it in the sink, and she'll throw it, and then she'll go over and kick it.
Oh my
God. It's just like,
so what do you do? How do you resolve that?
I go over to her. I was like, I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. Pick up your cup. No. Okay, cool. We're gonna pick up the cup together. So I grab her, we walk over, I have her pick up the cup, hand Daddy the cup, and she hands me the cup. I was like, that's all you have to do. Hand me the cup and I'll throw it out. But we don't kick anything and we don't throw anything when we're frustrated. It's as simple as that. I don't think it's a necessary, I'm not going to beat her, period. But to me, it didn't warrant that. Was I frustrated? Yeah, you telling me no, I'm your daddy. Like,
right.
You're not going to tell me what you are and are not going to do, but that's just how life is going to be moving forward. She's just going to throw a tantrum, and that's fine. But kids learn how to get disrespectful early, and there's no filter. Like, if we tell her not to do something like, hey, don't put your fingers in your mouth. And she'll stare at you and just do it. And it's just like,
oh boy,
you're an asshole. You're a straight asshole. But like, it's like, all right, cool. Now I'm going to come over there. I'm going to take your hand. I'm going to pull it out your mouth. I'm going to sit you down. Hey, get in your bed. It's weird because like growing up being black kids, it's like, oh, you're on timeout. That's what I'm doing now. It's just like, yo, you're going to lay down in your bed. You're going to calm down. And when you're ready to come out, I'm going to do this all over again. and just keep repeating. You're not going to be able to do what you want to do until you understand the message that I'm trying to send. She's not going to get it that day or the next week or the next month. Trust me, it's been like months I'm trying to teach her how to do shit. Right. But I don't feel the need to beat her. I feel the need to teach her and to show her a different consequence, right? And she learned sometimes before the consequence, like, hey, stop. And she kept doing it. So then I had to elevate it and walk over there. Then I had to talk to her as I'm doing it. So it's not just random punishment. And to get back to what I was going to say to you, Francis, sometimes you just got to pop a kid in the mouth for no reason, right? And it's not like just to abuse your kid, but like they do something. And my mom did this to me and my brother.
Man, so many slaps, bro.
That's it. And then like we wouldn't know what happened. And we have to sit there and think. I think the most damaging thing you could do to a child is make them think about what they did wrong if they don't know. Like you got them spinning for days, but it's a lesson learned. It teaches people, or it teaches your child how to handle negative feedback when people don't speak to them instead of being in their own head. And I think that's the most detrimental thing we have today in society. We are all in our own heads for way too long. Back in the day, it's just like, you don't like me, whatever. You don't like this, whatever. Now we're just like, why don't you like me? What did I do? What can I do better? And really at the end of the day, it's just like, you did nothing wrong. You know, it's just was upset.
Yeah, no, I think, in talking about punishment, I think punishment is not even as bad as emotional punishment. I think that's even like something greater that can actually impact the kid as an adult. So I think really there's so many toolkit in the box, so many toolbox in the kid or whatever you want to say it, that I think we have to utilize all of that. And I think punishment, even if you have to go to physical, even though like I'm not condoning, telling you to beat your kid, but like I said, I have to really figure that out for myself. I'm gonna navigate through that as a new dad. But I think there's every stage of a child, there's different things that you can do. Like you said, I think at the phase where your daughter is right now, maybe maybe that is the just those conversations and kind of like those positive reinforcement or negative reinforcement, whatever it is, maybe that is the only play that you have at the stage she's currently in, where like maybe the older she gets, you're able to add a few more things in there. But I think the artist part of all of it is really just defining when is the right time to use whatever those tools are to be the most efficient. And I think as parents, we have to give ourselves grace if we don't get it right. Because I think sometimes we are hard on ourselves. Because I know I had a conversation with my mom not too long ago, and she felt like she could have, like, when she looked at us, like, man, I did, because we're not as religious as she is, or she wishes we were, we go to church more frequently, or has a more better relationship with God, the way she raised us, and sometimes she probably felt like she could have done more, or even like that, just one example, but there's so many different examples that you could look at. But where as parents, I think we have to give ourselves grace that things may not even pan out the way we wanted it to, and we give our best, so.
Yeah. I mean, I think once we have freedom of choice, we can't be upset, right? So if we give our children more freedoms and luxuries more than what we had, they're going to make their own decisions, and we can't wish they did something different because we did it perfectly as parents. They made their own choice. They're successful. There's things that we're going to always want for our kids, but the biggest thing we want for our kids is to succeed in life. No matter how they achieve that succession, whether it's what we tried to push on them, whether it's something that merits us, doesn't make a difference. Like you said, Francis, they're fed, they're clothes on their back, they got a roof over their head. Why need to complain about anything else, right? I mean, I wish you were a lawyer. I wish you were an astronaut, dude, or lady, or whatever. You're making 3 times as much as me. I'm not even.
I mean, they do need to be all of that though.
Yeah, no. And that's dangerous, right?
Oh, boy.
That's dangerous.
I mean, you're from a Nigerian household, man. You gotta be a doctor.
I disagree.
An engineer. I'm just kidding.
So no, up to a point. So yeah, I think that's super dangerous when you try to push a kid into something they're not ready for. And I think it's a slippery slope because they end up having regrets for what they want to do.
Yeah, talk about it. Yeah, I mean, I don't think about pushing. I guess I'll let Drake come in here. Actually, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I just think that, I think the thing that has been good for me to kind of keep in mind is that I know that my parents were better parents to me than their parents were to them. And I feel confident that at the very minimum, that I'll be a better parent than they were, right? Like that is that's kind of the goal, that was something that, I hear my father tell me stories about, things that my grandfather did. And he was like, I wanted to make sure I never did that to you, right? Or I wanted to make sure that you never saw me doing this, right? Or whatever. So I just kind of feel like I know that I'm not always going to get it right. I just hope that when I do get it wrong, it's not anything, it's not something that I can't recover or fix, or, at the be able to look back and be like, okay, I messed up here. I handled this wrong. I'm sure there's probably, going to be a moment where I'm, dealing out some type of a punishment. I'm like, yeah, I shouldn't have taken away your phone, and threw it in the water because I was, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure there's going to be things like that, right? Where we're going to make mistakes, right? Where we're going to, take it too far, right? But I think it's the biggest thing of just, owning when we're, do something wrong, right? And I would say as much as possible, hold myself to the same standard that, I would want my son to be, right? So if I make a mistake, I should say that I'm wrong, right? Just like how I'm expecting him to kind of do the same, right? Or I hope that I'll teach him to do the same. So I think the biggest thing for me is just kind of keeping that in mind that for one, there's no such thing as a perfect parent, right? We're going to make mistakes. We're going to, but the biggest thing is, again, just trying to take all the great things that my parents did, for me growing up, and make sure I keep those, and the things that I did not like that they did, to make sure I don't repeat those as much as possible. So I think that's the biggest thing for me, is just trying to keep that mental, the bars where, the childhood that I had, right, which I think was a great childhood, but I want to and same thing, right? If my son has kids one day, I hope he does, because now I get the whole grandparent thing now. I didn't understand it before, but I totally get it now that I see, his grandparents with him. If he has children one day, I would hope that he's going to be a better father to his children than I was to him, right? Like I did, that should be the standard, right? We should always be getting better, right? I know we were joking about the whole dueling thing. Like, yes, it's good that we don't do that anymore. That was really stupid. Man. That was a really stupid thing.
That had a point to it.
Just putting yourself in that situation. Just how stupid is that like some guy didn't come home because he got into a gunfight with someone and he died, right? He wasn't even in the wrong, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like it could always work. We always have this thing where like
dueling without the gun, bro.
But what I'm saying,
go on with a little bruise.
It's probably better that we're not just jumping into it is probably, again, maybe me being like the boring dad, right? You can get into a fight with someone, they can, you knock them out and they hit the head the wrong way, they could die. Exactly. You know what I mean? Like there are
you can die getting out the tub, man.
You can get out the tub. Yeah, but I'm not going to go to jail for me falling in the shower the wrong way. I'm just saying that should go into your brain when you fight with someone, because it can go left, and it could just go from an assault charge to
attempted murder or murder in the first
or reckless, whatever the thing is. Whatever the thing is, right? You say the wrong word when you're fighting someone, that's another charge on it, right? It could be a hate crime, right? So I'm just saying.
Remember I told you about that risk tolerance? Remember I told you about that? Like, learning about that as a kid? Like, oh, okay, this is the worst thing that can happen if I do this.
Well, yeah. So
yeah, but that's stiff, bro. You don't want that.
Yeah, so that's all I'm saying. Is that it just get really ugly. It could just get really crazy. Quick, right? So that's all I'm saying, is just keep all that in mind. But I am glad that we are progressing. I know kind of Will Smith kind of maybe took us slightly back with the slap.
Oh man,
no,
actually,
I thought it was done. That was so how many months ago?
Yo, I have a question for you guys, because Dre, I like a lot of the points that you made. So, beside from my parents, do you guys have like role models that you guys look at as great examples of what a dad or a parent is, and how that you learn from around you, or
This is have to be parents or like it's just anyone, right?
it could be anyone around you, or it could be, I guess it could even be, it could be someone
So
famous, but maybe not, but
I'm
someone
gonna
that you, yeah, can touch. Yeah.
I'm gonna steal something that Selassie said like a while ago when we did something about like being men. I think he gave kudos to like his staff sergeant when he was in ROTC or something like that. So everyone plays a key role in your life, no matter who they are. And some people just have it, right? We gravitate to mentors, or we just see some people like just parenting, like when we're out just running normal errands, and like how a parent like handles something that's just like, yo, like that kid complied, and I don't know how they did it. So my role models would be like one, of course, my mother, my dad, my grandmother, you all, to be honest, because you guys are multifaceted, right? So the way I approach the situation has to constantly change in order to be a good dad, is to be able to adapt all those things. Celebrities, like, not so much. Like I like The Rock because he's just big and it's just like, oh, you can slap people around, but he has a good sense of humor behind him for being that size. Um, I'm trying to think who else in the world of the world. I have good mentors that are around me that they aren't parents, but they give good advice and they're good with children. I have one mentor now. She's a white female. She took my daughter out and she like played with her in like the water fountains when we were out in DC, and she was just having a good time, and it taught me how to be like carefree, to like really enjoy the moment. And that's super important about being parents. Oh, I mean, do cartoons count?
I mean, anything really. I'm
This
just
is
curious.
cartoon. This
I'm
is
just
cartoon
curious.
called
I'm
Bluey,
curious. Yeah.
and I like it because like the parents are really involved in like their child's life, and it's like they're a whole bunch of dogs, and like the dad's always enthusiastic about doing anything and everything, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, like Pepper Pig, stuff like that. It's just like those parents are really involved. They're always happy. They're always showing like, hey, like no matter what my child is doing, I'm very supportive of it. So I know that's like a weird role model thing, but it's just like things I strive for. It's just like, this is what I want to be as a dad. I want to have a good amount of discipline, a good amount of fun, and a good amount of realism. And those all will come into place at various times and points in her life.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. That's fire. That's dope. Yeah. I was just curious because, like being like, I've already mentioned this so many times. Yeah. Being like a new dad, you always, now like you actually pay more attention to stuff around you. Like it's like buying a new car and you realize the same car is on the road. Just like everybody has the same car on the road. But now like you're a dad, you kind of notice a little bit more things now, like with the way people are parenting their kids, and like even when you go to the store, see how like dad or the interaction between the dad and the son or the daughter, just even when you go to church and stuff like that. So I'm just more, my eyes is more open. I definitely don't feel like I have the answer to everything. So I'm in a space of just soaking in all the information that I can get, and really just making it ours, within like my family, my wife and I, really kind of defining the culture in our household. But I want to hear what Dre has to say on that question too.
Yeah, I think I can't think of the top of mind, any person that I necessarily look to, but again, I kind of to keep repeating the same thing, but I think it's helpful, looking at examples of things that I really like that my father did with me, right? Him taking, I would get in the car with him, and he's like, okay, what new music do you have? I want to listen to it, right? Now, he didn't care what type of, I was listening to rap music, it was all type of curses and, whatever in it, but he wanted to hear what music I was listening to, right? And even if he didn't necessarily like it or whatever, it was important to him that, he just kind of understood what I was listening to or whatever. There was some music that I think to make a long story less long, I think the thing is trying to, just take little bits and pieces from, very similar to what, Chunky was talking about, just kind of see examples of things that other people are doing and, making it my own or whatever. I went on I went on a work trip, and part of the work trip was going to this, the gentleman's house. He's like a coach for my boss, right? He's like her coach, her personal development coach. And we just had a lot of time just to kind of like hang out with him in his house. And he's like, oh, I play the drums. So he's like, he's like, oh, I heard you wanted to play the drums. Like, you know, he had like a whole drum kit in his, you know, garage or whatever. And he's like, yeah, I just, you know, wanted to learn how to play drums because my son is into the guitar. And I thought it would be cool for me to like learn how to like, you know, play so that we could play some songs together. And literally his son came down and was like, oh, like, can we play together? Like it wasn't forced or whatever. And I was like, oh, that's such a cool thing to do. Like, I don't know if I'll do that, but I just thought it was a really cool example of seeing examples of people like taking interest from their children, like not it being like the one way thing where it's like, okay, I like the Lakers and I like basketball. My son's gonna be a Lakers fan, right? I hope that's gonna be the case, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be the case.
But also, but it being both ways, right? You know, taking interest in things that are important to them, right? Because again, I'm sure there's gonna be some, you know, I like to think that I'm cool now and I understand all the things that are like, you know, relevant now, but you know, I'm sure there's gonna be a time where I'm not gonna be so, you know, understanding or, you know, hip or whatever. So I think for me, it's just trying to be a sponge, right? Look at what other people are doing, try to, you know, take the best of what I see and, you know, maybe ignore the stuff that I don't, right? But I think for me, it's just, this is all going to be like a learning process. Like, I know that I'm already, I know that I'm not going to ever feel like I know what I'm doing all the time. Like, I just don't think that that's a normal, everything everyone's ever told me that like, you're always going to feel like, you know.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Audio. We just had a lag. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah. Well, you can keep going.
So just you know, I know that we're not going to feel, you have to be okay with not knowing what to do sometimes, right? Like I think in your head right now, you're not going to know how to react in the situation, but when you're faced with the situation, right, it's that whole fight or flight thing. And I think everything everyone's told me about being a parent, like when it comes that moment of like, you need to make a decision on something, you're not going to second guess yourself. I'm sure, Chunky, you've probably had those type of scenarios too, where you're like, yeah. I didn't even think twice. I jumped into action, right? Like I saw my daughter was about to fall and I stopped her from falling, right? You know what I mean?
If
like,
I can tell you how many
like
times
that, right?
that's happened, like the most recent time, like she was jumping on the couch, it goes back to discipline, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I started implementing like just yelling to her to get her to stop. Not to like scare her, but like to get her to freeze. So it gives me enough time to react. So she's jumping on the couch and like, hey, stop jumping on the couch. And she's like, whatever, fuck you, dad. She's going. I'm like, hey. And she just stops.
Did she really like look at you and say, fuck you, dad?
If I can ever record it, I will record it and put it in the group chat.
That shit is hilarious.
That shit gets me going. I'm like, girl. And she stops. And then she's like, fuck it.
Oh my
and she
God.
just leans back and she starts falling off the couch. So then I leap and like I couldn't catch her from falling, but what I did, I pinned her to the edge of the couch to where she didn't completely fall. And then the fear had her to start crying. So it's just like one of those things, like, yeah, like you learn after times, like this one plenty of times she fell before that and I just reacted late. Now, like you kind of learn, like the first time you see your child fall and you didn't do anything, you think you're a horrible parent, but you just don't really develop those reflexes as of yet, right? So then after a while, it's just like, oh, okay, she's running or they're running this fast, they're going to end up falling. And you just know, and you're just like, oh, boop, gotcha. So
it sounds like eventually you just like, you kind of just let them hurt themselves because they're going to learn that way.
Yeah, like
you're going, I guess it depends on what it is. If it's something that's not going to actually like cause any.
They'll let them put their finger in the socket now.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know.
Yeah, they'll fall. I remember when my daughter first fell, she started crying. I was like, you fell in your butt and you have a diaper. Like, it ain't that deep. But it's just like, okay, it's okay, stand up. And you learn over time. It's like, okay, cool. Like it just happens. So yes, we want to protect our child from everything, but if we protect them from everything, they won't learn how to deal with anything. So it's a very delicate balance. It sounds like kind of stupid, but you want them to experience life so they learn how to react. And that's what really tests our ability of parenting, is when they see and deal with adversity and how they react to it minus you. Then you're just like, oh, I taught them enough to get through it. It's weird, man. When y'all get there, give me a call. I'm definitely gonna send you these videos of my daughter just like acting a fucking fool, like just looking at me like you ain't gonna do shit.
So have you implemented any positive reinforcement
Yeah,
into like what kind of stuff do you guys do? What kind of
like
stuff do you do?
it's simple stuff. You stood up, yay! You ate your food, yay! You like it's just simple buildups. Like it doesn't have to be anything like amazing. I remember when she put her own arm through her sleeve and like we celebrated for 10 minutes. Now that's all she wants to do. Like she started putting both arms to sleeve, she starts putting her clothes on.
Yeah.
So it builds that confidence. So it's just the smallest stuff like, oh, they ate their vegetables. Just like throw a party, throw a rave, man. It's like some kid I was watching on YouTube that like once he gets a kill, like he has like all the fireworks and laser lights in like his bedroom or whatever. That's what you got to do with your kids. And then as they start growing, like the celebration changes for different reasons, right? I'm not going to celebrate you went to school because you're supposed to. I'm going to celebrate you passing a test. Okay, it's a D, it's a C, it's a B. Like it's a workup. Like, nah, I'm not going to take D's, right? But like it's the simple stuff that makes them feel comfortable and happy to be with you. Like you'll see as they get older, it's like it's the craziest thing. Once they hit like 1 and start turning into 2, to celebrate dumb stuff. Like literally, if you sit there and watch something and start clapping, they'll look at you and start clapping too. It's just like it's awesome and nuts at the same time.
That's dope.
Yeah, I can go on for hours about this phase. I can't wait for y'all to get to it. It's like it's the craziest thing. Once they start talking, once they develop a full sentence or try to put one together, you're gonna just sit there like you're gonna start crying. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's like, yo, this being that just cried and shit themselves and just peed all over the place is now trying to hold the conversation with me. Now trying to tell me what's going on. And you just like,
yeah. I mean, like I know, like for me, I know one thing that I think Dre mentioned this earlier about like being better parents than our parents, and you kind of and the goal is for it to keep progressing over time to the next generation. One of the things I know like that, because of how strict and the kind of punishment my parents handed out to us, I felt like I started lying because I wanted to protect protect myself from getting in trouble. Then you start like manipulating situation, then you start learning how to like twist things, and like it just kind of like teaches you bad habits, I think. And where like so it has its negatives, right? Definitely that kind of comes along with that, and that's for me, that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to, and really kind of learning the proper way to have those dialogue with my kids, where they know like, okay, dad and mom love us regardless of what we do, but we know when we mess up, there's a consequence that comes with that, whatever it is. It could be like taking things away, or whatever that thing like whatever they do, whatever it comes with. But at the end of the day, one of the things that they have to understand is dad and mom love us, and whatever they're doing is because they care for our well-being. So yeah.
I agree. I think that is the goal, right? To make sure that they know that everything that you are, everything that you're doing for them, everything that you're anything you're asking, anytime you're asking to do something, right, it's always for their best interests, right? So yeah, I think that's the key. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna. I think we have been doing the reward on everything, but I really like to I think we can even go crazier on on the celebrations on that stuff. So those are major keys. Chunky.
yeah, I mean, we dropped some good gems. Like I said, I'm gonna keep saying it. Like once you get that euphoric feeling of like seeing your child progress, you just want to see more and more until they become teenagers and become real assholes. Then it's a different story. Like real quick question before I end this. So I have a daughter, so this probably won't happen. I hope it doesn't happen. So your son becomes a teenager, testosterone starts pumping, right? You're kind of on the fence about hitting him, and he comes up and just bows up on you like, fuck you, dad, what you gonna do? And comes at you. Are you gonna sit there and be diplomatic and tactful?
No one can. The audience can't see it, but I got my hands all the way around my shirt. You know, I promised my wife that I would not be putting hands on him, but I did not promise that I would not rough him up and let him know what's up, right? So I think that's where we get into the like holding him really close to me and saying, "Look," not even yelling, right? Because I feel like it's way more scary when you're very calm. Like, look, I know you're feeling yourself right now, but I'm gonna need you to take a little bit of dip off that chip, right? You know.
My wife is taller than you, Dre.
It don't matter if he's taller than you. Okay, that's it.
It's all looking down at you.
I'm prepared for this, right? So my father, when I was in eighth grade, I was taller than my father. At the end of eighth grade, I was taller than my father. So my father's 6 foot tall. I am 6'4.5", right? So I was slightly taller than him in eighth grade. And from that moment on, he would always tell everyone in front of me, "Oh, DeAndre, stand up, show everyone how tall you are." And then as soon as I would stand up, he would make it a point to like be like, "But I'll still kick his ass," and he would like push me or whatever. He's always kind of making it clear to show me, always just a little press, just to let me know that you got that old man strength. So if my son is taller than me, I hope he is, right? You know, I always wanted to be 6'6" when I was younger. So hopefully he, but I will make it very clear to him that no matter how tall he is or how big he is, that I will still, you know, I can still do it. I may not do it, but I want him to think that I could at any given moment, right? So, but yeah, I'm doing this more often because Chunky is really laughing. But yeah, I will, you know, rough him up, pull him very close to me and be like, "Look, I don't know what's going on with you. I'm gonna let you pass. I'm gonna let this one go."
Man,
but just know that's not. So yeah, you know, but maybe the second or third time, maybe those turn into. You know, we could do some MMA chokeholds. You know, we could
mobile octagon.
You know, yeah, we could go into some different chokeholds or whatever. Because I still feel at the end of the day, probably for a long time, my father had old man strength that he could have, you know, definitely at least put his hands on me to let him know that he could still, you know, take me down at the very least.
Man, that's crazy. No, I've never stood up to my dad like that. So if my son if my son ever did that to me, I'd be like, "God damn it, I failed." I know. But I'm just like, for real though, I think every chance I get, man, like growing, like if my son and I, or even play sport, I am definitely going to show him dominance. Like I'm going to kick his ass every single time, so he knows who is the boss. So like that. Hopefully put enough fear in his head, where he knows, like, I'm not gonna mess with dad. Never gonna come at him like that. Because if he does, so let's say if he actually did do that, I really don't know, man. I probably, if we are like a sport family and we always play like basketball together, since and he's is into basketball, we're gonna definitely go play it out, man. Like, yo, get your black ass on the court. Let's go right now.
In my head, I just see Francis buying a Fisher Price hoop. His son is 3. He gives him the ball. He shoots it. Swat. No easy buckets.
No easy, but you're gonna earn it around here, man.
Oh,
that's
evil.
But yeah, but that is like, I feel like that's the non-physical way to resolve that is, you know, like let's take it on into the park and let's play it out. You know,
man, he want to throw hands. I think at some point you just gotta throw hands with your child.
I'm straight, man.
It's not anything negative. I think like we talked about earlier in this episode, that testosterone driven part of us just being men. As a young man, you're gonna test that, and you're not gonna. I don't think you're gonna respond to your child like, "I'm gonna beat my child's ass." Yeah, you're gonna probably put him in a real naked choke, put him to sleep, just lights out, straight up, just hit him in the chest once, let him know that you have real old man strength, nothing to disable him, but you are going to make sure the rules of dominance still apply to him in your relationship with him. I don't think it's anything malicious. I don't think it's anything mean. And I think in that instance, what they will learn is just like, I need to come correct before I test someone, especially my own father. I think it's a real good life lesson to be learned in that, where violence does send a message and a point that, hey, you can't do this. This is your physical consequence to your action because you stepped out of pocket. It's all of what that is. Coming from a man who's all about violence. I'm okay with it.
As expected. I'm not surprised with that answer. But like I was thinking about it, I was like, I remember like the older I got, and when my parents used to like still whoop us, I remember there would be a scenario where my dad like, oh, you want to fight me back now? Want to fight me back now? Like, and I would just like, and I can just think about that, like, and I'm gonna tell my son, like, okay, you want to hit me? Like, what? You want to fight? And just kind of like get all like real intense about it, and like you put it on their shoulder, like, what? You get in my face? What you're trying to do? Want to do something about it?
He
like,
socks you in the mouth. What are you going to do?
Well, I mean, you open, they don't like. You hope like all the lessons, that you've been teaching them over the years, like comes into play at that moment, and they don't go that far.
Remember I told you like that
I get it, but I never, even though my mom or my dad ever asked me that question, I never like went past that question. Like, no, I was like, of course not. Like, that's what you will hope comes into play when you ask your kid that question, like, what, you trying to hit me? And you hope they say, of course not.
I mean, they take that risk. It's just like, I just look at it differently. I just look at it like, oh, you're gonna take that risk. Okay. So you show no fear in that situation, and you test your ability, right? You tested that assumption to see where you stand. And to me, that goes into life. If you think you can't do something, you're not going to do it. But if you just take a chance and take a risk, even if you may fail at it, even if you don't think it's the right thing, at least you just learned a lesson in that. I think it's the lesson that's being learned throughout it. Completely hear you, Fran. Completely agree with you. Hopefully your child doesn't say like, yeah, I'm going to hit you. But the one time that they do, one time that they power up, just be prepared to teach them a lesson in a sense. Like, you don't even have to hit them. I think the most embarrassing thing you can do is just dip out the way. So, okay, you sure? And then they'll just think like, oh shit, like that wasn't a good move. So like there are many ways you can dance with that, right? But don't miss the lesson that can be taught. Everything in life is a lesson. So as us growing up, and I think I talked about before, I put my hands on my dad. That was just me. It's just like, oh, like, okay, cool. Like, this is allowed. Risk tolerance is a little higher than most. Let's do it. But the lesson that I learned in that is that my dad still loves me no matter what. Whooped his ass, and I felt bad beating up on him because there wasn't a just reason to do that. Okay, I'm stronger than my dad, but what does that really mean? How does that affect my relationship? What did I really learn? I can't control my emotions. Like, that shit backfired hard on me. I didn't feel like I was the king in the castle. I was just like, I just beat my dad up for nothing. But we're still good friends to this day. He's still my dad. So we all look at it differently.
That's deep.
So yeah, let them have that opportunity. Let them learn. Let them learn through failure. And it's okay. I mean, as parents, as true parents, we love our children no matter what they do. Just hopefully they're not fucking strippers doing stupid shit, right? So it's different having a daughter, right? Just like,
I was gonna say.
My whole goal is to avoid that.
Boy, oh boy.
That's boy. I failed. If that happens, like, damn, what did I do wrong?
You let them take their risk, bro. Risk.
So, I was gonna say it's now updated.
It's
now updated from stripper to OnlyFans model. It's now that's
oh my God, no. That I don't have that risk tolerance. I don't even know how I would respond.
I don't know, man. You know what? One of the first thing I always think about is, I'm dealing with it with my sister now. Like, I remember I was out with one of my best friends, and his younger sister was with us, and she went home with a guy, and I was looking at him like, yo, like, what's going on? Like, I was like, you just gonna let that happen? And he was like, bro, what am I supposed to do? She's a grown woman. Like, I can't tell her what to do. I can tell her she can't do that. And I had to like take a step back and think about it. Like, man, like, I still have a lot of growing to do, because if it was my sister, I don't think I'm ready to deal with that yet, you know. And this happened a few years ago, and the same thing would happen, you know. And I'm still trying to, you know, my sister, she's over 20 now. Like, you know, I've been, you know, she's tells me stuff, and I'm like learning to like, you know, like, you know what, I know what I was doing her age, you know, stuff like that, and trying to like understand and put myself in her shoes and stuff like that. And
Would you let your
and
son
but
do it?
I know well, I'm expecting that question. Yeah, I think it was still. This is where like the inequality comes into play. Like the, you know, I think you have less concern with your son, you know, as your daughter, but I think the concern level is still gonna be there. I still want to know what my son is doing, who is whoever he's going home with, you know. But the same rule is gonna apply, man. I just like, you want to protect your kids, man. Like,
Yeah, no
and
doubt.
sometimes like you have to learn to let go. And I think sometimes that's also a thing parents got to learn how to do. You know, you raise them for so many years to get to a certain point in life, and letting go, I think is also it's a grieving process you have to go through, you know. And I think
Mhm.
and some parents don't properly do that, and that's where it create conflict between their potential partners and whatever, or even like detrimental to that kid's life. But where they are too reliant on their parents, where they can't actually make decision on their own. So yeah, no, I think it's a wonderful thing though. It's a beautiful thing. I think, you know, I'm looking forward to the ups and downs of it all, because, you know, because it's gonna teach me a lot. I'm gonna learn a lot, and hopefully able to pass it on to my kids, you know.
Trey, you got anything?
Nope. I feel like Francis hit on the major parts, man. I think yeah, I think it's just, I think I just got to be okay with knowing that I'm not gonna have all the right answers, and I got to either, you know, learn from my mistakes or right away apologize and just kind of learn as I go. So it's an on the job learning type thing.
That listen, from they're born to they're 18, they're my responsibility. After they're 18, get the fuck up out my house. I should have taught you more than enough to survive. You can always come back home. You can always ask me questions, but you have graduated into adulthood and you have to be successful. So I'll always be the safety net, but yeah, I can't always protect her. And I know that. So everything I'm teaching her, how to defend herself, how to be articulate, how to be diplomatic, how to be tactful. I got 18 years to do it. Right? Yeah. I think as parents, we have that. It doesn't, you never stop parenting, but your level of parenting calibrates because they're away from you and they're learning different things. All you can do is check in.
I know we're gonna wrap up, but I want to say this. I cannot wait for all of us to go to your house prom, and we're gonna reenact that scene. Woo! From we're gonna reenact we could do two reenactments. I'll give you the choice right now.
I know exactly where you're going with this.
We could either do the Bad Boys one, where is we have some crazy person with a gun at the door and is, you know, acting all crazy like Will Smith's character, or door number 2 would be I can't Den of Thieves.
Yep. I knew exactly
where we're all, you know, me, Francis, Glenn, D Black are in the garage waiting, and you basically bring the guy in, tell him, I just gotta talk to you for a second. We show up in the garage, and you know we're we either lift the weights or we're doing very menacing things to make it clear that he needs to bring our baby Chunky back at this time, untouched, and just let him know what's up. You know, I can't wait to reenact one of those scenes. We gonna scare somebody really bad.
So, option 3.
What's option 3? It was option 3.
Be more diplomatic and tactful. All of you will come over. It'll only be me at the house. And I will have all of you staged throughout their way to prom. And they know you exist because you will stand out and stare them down.
Oh, man.
Shit doesn't have to be said. You basically go to prom, line up against the wall, just watch them. 5 minutes, just dip out.
Oh, man.
You already know what it is.
That sounds scarier. That makes it sound illegal. That makes it sound illegal, but I'm with it. Whatever you want to do.
We're just here. Oh man, you're on your way to prom. Like I was just going to go get groceries at the corner store. It's
boy.
Whatever Miss Chunky will allow us to do, we will do.
Yo, Dre, I'm gonna say for the longest time I was a big fan of the Bad Boy, but the second option though, that was they
Den
killed
of Thieves,
that.
yeah.
They killed that, bro. They killed that. I think that might be my favorite one.
This is where my concern lies, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna raise my daughter to find someone similar to who I am, right? And the fact that they can take care of themselves. I know if you put me in that situation, I'm like, oh, word? This is what it is? You want her back home at 9:01. You don't fuck that, 9:30.
That would have been a very stupid mistake if you saw that movie. Those guys were savages.
There's some big boys.
Those guys were savages.
There's some big boys.
They all would have put the beats on you.
That's why I love that one more. That was a little bit more scarier, bro.
That would have scared me. I wouldn't have thought twice.
If I know that dude or that partner is a strong person, there's a different way to approach it.
Yeah. Yo, good.
It's still on the table.
Yeah,
still on the table.
Fair enough.
Always option one. Always option one. But gents, thanks for stopping through. For more content or learn more about the podcast, feel free to check us out on Jerk Bill of Color Pod on Instagram. Podcast episodes drop every Wednesday. Stay tuned for the outro coming up right after this to learn additional ways to reach us and send us your feedback. Be sure to like, share, follow, and subscribe. Like what you're hearing? Feel free to leave us a review on your preferred streaming platform of choice. See you all again next week.
Peace out.
Peace.
Good to be back.
To be off.
Oh, didn't see it coming.
And that concludes today's episode, but that doesn't mean the conversation has to end. As a matter of fact, feel free to check us out at JJC Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter for our post-discussion question following the release of this episode. If you are a Black or minority business owner or professional that would like to be featured on the Rep Yours segment of our show, or a listener with some general feedback for the podcast panel, feel free to shoot us an email at jjcpod@gmail.com. As always, likes and comments are always appreciated. Be sure to subscribe or follow to be notified when the next episode releases. And until then, stay safe, stay blessed. Peace.